The philosophy of Vedanta is centered on the concept of Brahman or Brahma. This is different from Brahma, creator in Hindu mythology or religion. Brahman is the absolute, supreme reality who is beyond Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, the Trinity, who are also said to be the illusory forms of the Brahman himself in certain traditions. And Brahman is the absolute, and Brahman is beyond name, place, action, everything. Even the very name Brahman is basically vachaka or indicator. The same may be said to be true about Omkar, which is taken to be the symbol of Brahman or somewhere Brahman itself. Not his or her. Brahman is beyond gender. But as you know, the Yoga Sutra says, Patanjali's, Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha. Omkara Pranava is the signifier of that, not the thing in itself. Though, these views differ, but I'm doing this for basically our students in Indian ethics course, but in general it may be of interest to all. So there is a difference between Brahman on the one hand, the absolute, and then concepts like Bhagavan, Ishwar, God, these things, though we often conflate this. So as Vedanta philosophers see it, there are three categories of absolute, and only the Brahman is the real absolute who is beyond name, place, everything. So this is called Nirgun and Nirakar, who has no form, Nirakar, no akar, Nirguna, no gun, Sattva, Raja, Tama, anything or any attribute, Trigunatit, that is Brahman. Then Saguna Nirakar is Ishwar or Paramatma. Though someone would say that Paramatma is Nirgun Nirakar, but more rational view is Paramatma is Nirakar but Sagun. This is comparable to concept of a formless God, let us say in Abrahamic tradition. For example, God is generally said to be formless, but then oversees everything: creation, dissolution, destruction, reconstruction, reward of virtue, punishment for sin, but formless. So this is the Ishwar category, and or Bhagavan category. But after that, there is Saguna and Sakar, which is, for example, like Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva, they have both form supposedly and then attributes. Though again, they also finally are Brahman only, and they are the medium through which we can, approach the Brahman. So these three categories you'll have to remember. The absolute is Nirgun Nirakar, then Ishwar or God category is Saguna Sakar, and then Devata or Bhagavan category is, Ishwara is Saguna and Nirakar, then Devata or Brahman category is Saguna Sakar. Then the question arises, what is that absolute Brahman? The answer is you are that, thou art that. That is the best mystery of Vedanta. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, as Shvetaketu is told by his father. Thou art that, Tattvamasi. So I am that Brahman. I means not me, Jaydeep Chakraborty, the face, the body, the form, beyond everything. There is a formula. Say neti, neti, no iti. Am I my eyes? No. Am I my nose? No. Like that, you go beyond. Am I my mind? No, I am not the mind. I am not my ego, ahamkar. I am not my heart. I am not my hands. So it's like that, go beyond everything. Finally, nothing is left. That nothingness is Brahman. So that is how you can reach Brahman through reasoning. So this is called Neti way. Na iti, na iti. However, interestingly, though Brahman is said to be Nirgun Nirakar, Adi Shankara, who is the most important interpreter of the Vedanta, just as Even today we cannot read Shakespeare without Bradley. So Shankara's interpretation of Vedanta and Upanishads have become almost synonymous with Vedanta and Upanishad, though there are many other versions. All the Vaishnavite schools of Vedanta are against Shankara version that I will discuss later. But anyway, Shankara says that Brahman is Sat Chidananda. Satchidananda. That is, Sat means everlasting. We are perishable, our body, physical form, but the essence or Atman is everlasting. And in Vedanta philosophy, at least Shankar Vedanta, no difference between Atman and Brahman. But in Vaishnava and other allied philosophies, there is a difference. Brahman is the bigger one, the limitless one, and Atman is a particle of that. But Shankar Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta does not recognize this different. This is illusory, they say. So anyway, so Brahman, first thing is Sat. It exists. Though often we say he, but it would be proper to call it because, as I said, it's beyond gender. So Sat, everlasting. From this, the idea that Sat is good has come to my language, Bangla, and a few other languages from Sanskrit origin. But then the original meaning of Sat is everlasting. The reverse is, of course, Asat. Sat. A Chit. A thing may be everlasting, but it may not have any consciousness. So it is conscious. Brahman is conscious, not only is extant. So, for example, in our limited experience, a stone is everlasting from our perspective, but it has no consciousness. Brahman is not like stone, it is existence, pure existence, that is Sat, eternal existence. Then the next call is Chit, it is conscious. And not only it is Sat and Chit, it's full of Anand, that is pure bliss. Ananda is not happiness. Happiness is sensory, related to sense perception. Happiness, sadness is beyond that. So if you meet some Dashnami saints of North India, they will bless you that Sukh mein raho ya Dukh mein raho, Hamesha Anand raho. So Ananda Parabrahmeti Yoni, it is said by Vishnu Sahasranam. So Brahman is finally Ananda. So then people ask Shankara that you are saying that Brahman is without attribute, Nirgun, Nirakar. Nirakar, okay, we understand, but if you say Brahman is Satchidananda, is not it attributes? Are not Sat, Chid and Ananda then attributes of Brahman? Shankara says no. He gives the example of flower. In case of flower, most flowers have, nice aroma, smell. This is guna of flower. If the flower dries, the aroma will disappear. That means it is not the essential constituent of flower. But in case of sugar, if the sweetness is taken away, the sugar will disappear. Because sugar is the very essence, or sweetness is the very essence of sugar. So it is not guna of sugar, it is the dharma of sugar. Similarly, Sat, Chid and Ananda are not attributes of the Brahman. They constitute the Brahman itself. So this is basically the Vedanta philosophy about the absolute and also the relative, Jiva and Brahma, Atman and Brahman. And as it is well known, the difference between Atman and Brahman is caused by Maya, which is the most difficult concept of Advaita Vedanta. Maya in Buddhism is easier, in Vaishnavism is easier. But Vedanta, the concept of Maya, the word is used in all these discourses, but there are nuances, there are differences. Maya of Vaishnavisms, several Vaishnavisms, do not mean the same thing as Maya of Advaita Vedanta. And again, Maya of Vaishnavism is not the same as Maya in Shaktism. To give an instance, the goddesses the Shaktas worship, say Kali, Durga, they are seen as Maya by Gauriya and other Vaishnavas. But within the Shakta discourse, they are not Maya, they are Brahman, Mahamaya. Their Maya again is a lesser category with lesser deities. So there are nuances. Anyway, Maya, what is the meaning? The simple meaning is Ma means no in Sanskrit actually. Ma gacha, don't go. Ya means which. Maya, that which is not. There is another etymology, miyote anena maya, that is the Brahman, the limitless Brahman is measured by that, limited by that, hence maya. But this is a later thing, intrusion. I go with that maya, that which is not. That means what? It is very confusing. The moment we say that something it must exist, maya does not exist. So Vedanta philosophers like Shankara give the example of magic. In magic, the magician will show you his head is chopped off. I cannot show, I am not a magician, I would have shown. So it is real for some time, it exists. But at the same time, his real head is not being chopped off. It exists, otherwise he would have died as not died. So simultaneously, something is and is not. It is against the Aristotelian dictum that a thing cannot be and not be at the same time. The Maya concept of Vedanta is very opposite of that. The thing is and is not at the very same time. Or we can now learn from science. We see the sun rising in the east, setting in the west, but it is stationary. So far as earth is concerned, sun is not fully stationary, but vis-a-vis earth it's stationary. So illusion is an important word, in useful word which we can use about Maya. So Shankara says, now I'm coming to the crux, that he says, I'm telling in half a line what has been written in crores of books. Shlokardhena pravakshyami yaduktam granth kotivi brahma satyam jagan mithya jiva brahman aparavoi. That is, jiva is Brahman, you are Brahman, tattvamasi shvetagato, none other than Brahman. But then why we do not understand we are Brahman? I am Jaydeep Chakraborty, you are this, is that. That is due to Maya. But then does Maya exist? It doesn't. Because only thing that exists is Brahman. But then still Maya exists, and due to which we are confused. This is the enigma of Advaita Vedanta. A thing which does not exist, it yet exists and makes our thing limited. This Brahman and Maya concept of Vedanta has some kind of a parallel in the Shiv Shakti concept of Shaivism and Shaktism, Radha Krishna or Sitaram concept of Ramayats or Vaishnavism, Prakriti Purush of Sankhya, but resonance. But all these are very different. Okay, so these are not the same thing. So I think this is what is very important for understanding Vedanta. Then the second question is, how do we know about Brahman, or if you like God, the word God or Ishvara, how do we know about it? So a text called Brahma Sutra, attributed to Vadarayan Vyas, the other name of Vedavyas, because he did penance in Vadarikashram, so he is known as Vadarayan. A book of aphorisms. India is famous for sutras, Yoga Sutras. Now this is Brahma Sutra. In the erotic domain also Kama Sutra is very famous, but as we all know now, it is not only about sex. There are many things in Kama Sutra. There are Shalva Sutras, Bhakti Sutras, so formula. So Brahma Sutra is set of formulas to know the Brahma. It is another digest of Upanishads, just as I said now that the Gita itself is one. So the first shloka of Brahma Sutra is very short. Okay, Athato Brahma Jignasa. Atha is a word, indicates something good. Okay, new beginning. Atha, with all the sutras begin with most of the Atha. So Athato Brahma. So here we begin the talk about Brahman. Then next formula, slok number 2 of Brahma Sutra is Janmadyasya Yataha. That how do we know about Brahman or God, if you like it? Though I said they are different, but as of now, let us take them to be the same. So we know because we have been born, the world has been created, in cosmos, the concept of creator God, Janmadyasya Yata, which is common to almost all religions. But the very next sloka, the third one or sutra, Brahma Sutra, contradicts it and says Shastra Yonitvat, that It is not enough to say that there is God because we exist. Existence may happen without God. It is not that Darwin told us for the first time in 19th century. There were Charvak philosophies, Lokayata Darshan, Goshala. There are many things. Even Buddhists and Jains in their own ways do not accept Creator God. So we cannot say that because we are created, there is a Creator. It may not follow. So the next thing is Shastra Yonitvat. There is God, there is Brahman because scriptures say so. Shastra, of course, scriptures Yonitvat. Yoni means origin, birthplace. So, because the scriptures tell us. Interestingly, this is common to quite a few religions or faiths, let us say. The same thing in an indirect way find in the Bible. Yes, Jesus is there, incarnation is there, God is there, but the word is very important. Thy word is all, if you could spell. George Herbert, metaphysical poet. So, we find in the Bible, in the beginning there was the word, and God was with the word, etc., etc. Same God and word, same thing. So, revelation, scripture. So, scripture is very important. Of course, here you can bring Foucauldian idea of discourse. God is a discourse, but this is not as of now our concern. So, Shabda, the essence of scriptures are words or Shabda. So, we say in Indian theology or Indian philosophy, there are generally 4 kinds of proofs of proving anything or falsifying anything. This is Nyaya, logic. One is Pratyaksha. You see me, I see you, this is Pratyaksha Praman, no one can deny. But as we have seen in magic, in case of sun, even Pratyaksha may be illusory. Another is Paroksha, indirect proof. Where there is a smoke, there is fire. Parvato Vanniman Dhumat. If you see smoke, there's Paroksha. So, then Anuman, you can infer. There is a classic shlok, Pina Devadatto Divana Bhunkte. The fat Devadatta, fat we cannot say today, but in academics we can, does not eat by the day. The logical conclusion will be then he eats during night. Otherwise he won't have been. That kind of thing. Fourth is Aptavakya, authority. That is in the Indian or theist Indian tradition, Vedas. And today we can say there are many other authorities. WHO regarding COVID. I don't know, these are contradicted often, but then Vedas are infallible. Those who do not accept the Vedas are Nastiks actually in Indian. So Pratyaksha, Paroksha, Anuman, Aptavakya. Of all this, in the theistic tradition, Aptavakya, Shastra, the Veda, most important thing. I am not saying that this is empirically true, by the way. I am representing the tradition. So, much later, many other pramanas were added. The famous Gauriya Vaishnava philosopher, you may guess I won't name him, then collated all and then made this conclusion again that though there are 10 kinds of proofs, from 4 it became 10 by the time, by 17th century, still Vedas or Shabda is the main proof. Yaddapi dasha pramanani vartate tathapi shabdameva mula pramanam. This is accepted by Nanak also, Guru Nanak, Ananda Sahib. Kahe Nanak suno santo shabda dharo pyaro. Yeah, he may not mean the entire Vedas, but Shabda is principle, Pranava, Annada, Brahma, any Nam. Any word contains every word. Okay, Sarvam Sarvamiti. This is very interesting and we are almost verging on to Derrida and deconstruction here, but it's there in the Vedic tradition. Okay, the moment you say Ka, Kha, Ga and all are indicated by their absence. This is also Vedanta philosophy. So anyway, so Shabda is important. So scripture is the main source or main proof of Godhead as per tradition. That is what I was going to say. This contradicts Gandhi's view of God, which is a rationalist view, and it has its origins in the 18th century European tradition post-Enlightenment Europe, when they concocted or made a new religion called Deism, on which I will discuss later. Gandhi believed that logically we can deduce the existence of God. There is some rule, he says in a video I'm sharing, that it's a good one. For example, he went to Mysore. So many poor people, they're suffering. They don't know who are or who is ruling them, but they are sure that there is some God, meaning their king, and there is someone above them. So he goes by, dragging it on, and by the same logic, you can deduce that there is a top ruler. But finally, at least Hindu scriptural traditions does not agree to this as the most authentic proof of Godhead. So they go back to scripture. Rationally, again, scriptures were scriptures were the productions of human mind, but within the Indian tradition they are known as apaurusha. Same in other tradition, in other names. So Quran was given by Allah, and then God, gave the Bible like that. So similarly in the Indian tradition, apaurusha, no purusha, no person, let us say, composed the main shastras, shrutis, Vedas. Smritis were composed later on. So we'll continue slowly, and thank you so much for being with us. If you have any query, please post them in comments, or comments if you have.